Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Caroline Hoffmann. I'm in the Innogy Innovation Hub, leading our network engagement activities, but most importantly, this afternoon for the next 45 minutes, I'm going to moderate our panel discussion about smart living, smart everything, and how we can build new businesses with data and with our customer in mind. We have Eckhard here with us, who is going to scribble what we are talking about to capture the most interesting and productive content so that nothing gets lost. And first of all, we want to start a conversation and afterwards give you 10 to 15 minutes for your questions and your thoughts. So it would be really great if you get involved then later on. We are here together with 6 colleagues. And please take the opportunity, and maybe Bram, you start. Where you are, or who you are, where you are we see, but who you are and what brings you on stage today.
Yeah, hello everybody, great to be here. My name is Bram van der Wal. I'm working for Ascent Energy in the Netherlands. We are a daughter company of Innogy and one of the largest utility companies in the Netherlands. I work there as a product developer for a smart and connected business and have previously worked 10 years for Philips on connected products. So I worked in smart TV, smart healthcare, and basically making things smart in the past. And we are really trying to become a full service provider in the Netherlands, so move from utility to a full service provider. That's the process that I'm also guiding.
My name is Taylor Wescoatt. I work in early stage venture capital in London. I focus primarily on the property technology sector, so I guess I see a very, very large asset class that is very severely underinvested, and that looks like an opportunity. So I can talk a little bit about that. And I've been working a bit with Innogy to help them build out their innovation program.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Claudia. I'm part of the Innogy Innovation Hub, and I'm leading the so-called lighthouse, smart and connected. We care for smart home solutions and smart building solutions of the future. So what comes next? And I would really be interested in discussing that with you after the panel. Before I joined the Innovation Hub last year, I was working for Bosch, so consumer product area, and I was responsible in different management positions for smart and connected home appliances, so the strategy, the development, and the launch. Did my PhD on that 10 years ago, so I would pretty much say there is some kind of expertise in that area, and happy to discuss that also with you, what changed over the last years and where are we going to.
Hi, I'm Angela Greitenweiss from Berlin. I'm part of the Berlin Hub team and responsible to establish the structures we need for corporate startup collaboration. We do investments, seed investments in the Innogy Innovation Hub, also via our CVC arm Series A and onwards. So this is one part, and the other part is building own companies. And in Berlin, we are trying to get the ecosystem and leverage the ecosystem to maximum extent. I'm not an Innogy homegrown person. I have a background in startups over the last 8 years in several industries, in product and business model development.
Good afternoon, Djeevan Schiferli. I joined Innogy 2 years ago. I run the big data team in analytics. We operate the data lake for all of Innogy. We have a team of data scientists. And we're interested in working with startups, with investors who either can benefit from the data that we have or who can deliver new data services to the consumers that we have for the future. Before Innogy, worked 20 years at IBM as an international business developer, so interested in the conversation.
Hi everyone, my name is Tal and I joined the Innovation Hub 1 year ago. working now in the expert cell as a product expert, supporting the different ventures in the hub. Before that, I co-founded 2 startups, one in Israel and one in Germany, and worked for some technology companies in Germany, in the US, other countries also in Europe. And yeah, excited to be here to talk to you about smart and connected and how we can make a difference.
Yeah, thank you very much. So you can see we came with quite a number of colleagues with all different backgrounds and focusing on different aspects. And actually that really shows how Innogy and Innovation Hub is working. And Peter Thieram, our CEO, just made a keynote speech on the main stage and gave a broad overview of everything we are doing, new businesses that we are creating, because we have to do so as a company as well. And Bram, you are based in the Netherlands, in our Dutch market. I mean, the Dutch have always been very innovative and commercial. In regard to smart home, smart living, what do you see there happening?
Yeah, you clearly see that in the Dutch market, smart home is it's not really a niche market anymore. So you see, for instance, in the Netherlands that 35% of consumers have something smart, be it a smart thermostat or smart lighting. And maybe it also helps that Philips used to be is a Dutch company, and Philips Hue is quite big in the Netherlands. But it is also an entry point where you can start selling new products. And as I said, we have quite some competition. So it's a relatively small market, the Netherlands. We are one of the 3 big energy companies there, and we see that we have an opportunity also to really grow much more than just selling E&G. We used to be basically a billing machine for energy. That's an ending story at a certain moment, because we have like 50 different energy suppliers in the Netherlands. They all differentiate on different aspects. And so we really adapted a new way of working where we add new products on top of energy. We call that E+ products. And smart home specifically is something that we grow also as a category. So we're not just growing the size of our share, we really want to grow the pie, the total pie of smart home in the Netherlands. And with the category management specifically, we work with startups, try to integrate their products in our portfolio, and also we guide our consumers in their whole customer journey towards getting into a smarter or connected home. And that's quite an adventure, because it's about service design, it's about mapping customer journeys from all different kinds of consumers we have. And we also really integrate the consumer in this journey mapping. So we talk with consumers, we add them into the process of creating new smart home products and services. And that's really exciting. It's a company in transformation, and to be part of that journey, it's just great. So we really guide them in inspiration. We give them information at the right point and also in the right touch points. We guide them, make the right choice for the products and services that they are looking for. And fourth of all, we also look into the aftercare. So once they have bought a product, we try to really get them engaged and keep the conversation going. And later on I will tell a bit more about the products and services, and also specifically the startups that we work with to accomplish this. Yeah.
Thank you, Bram. So this was a little bit of background about the smart home aspect, but here we want to talk about smart living and smart everything. So what is above smart home possible? The International Federation of Robotics predicts household robotics sold until 2019 round about 42 million pieces, and last year in 2000, or 2 years ago in 2015, we just had 4 million built. So there seems quite a huge potential. What is it all about, Claudia, and how do you face that and approach that with your work in the smart and connected topic theme in the Innovation Hub?
What we see is that more and more technologies and solutions come together in a smart home. So you mentioned robotics, it's about chatbots, it's about artificial intelligence, it's about machine-to-machine communication next to the simple appliance or the simple device which is connected. And I agree with you, Bram, what you stated. It's no longer a niche market, but on the other hand, it's no mass market also. So I think the question is no longer if a company or if a solution provider works on a smart and connected solution, but more like, okay, what are you going to offer? And our approach is clearly open. So we do not think that we have everything in our own company, but we really believe in the solutions out there coming from startups and bringing them together. And this is something which changed over the last years. So I would say 10 years ago, each big company focused on its own solution, its own protocol, its own, I don't know, software. And now more and more are getting open and try to create some ecosystems around, because it seems to be beneficial. And that's clearly the approach of innogy. Be open and look for new solutions out there by combining different solutions, existing solutions, and especially with startups, because they are always ahead of time, and there are really some cool things out there for smart home.
And when we talk about smart home, smart living, we usually think about private customers, households or something. What about the B2B customer?
So, well, there is a big market also. We call it smart building in our project, or in the Lighthouse Smart and Connected. We focus on both, on the B2C side as well as on the B2B side. For smart buildings, we see a big potential in the small and medium enterprises. Well, the big ones, the big buildings have already building automation integrated. They have some money to do so, but the small and medium ones often have, it's too costly or too complex. So we focus also in that space. The difference maybe in some cases is the driver for small and medium enterprise owners to focus more on the cost efficiency and on the transparency than in the smart home area, where we clearly see focus in terms of security maybe or convenience. Of course, efficiency is also important, but the cost driver is one of the key topics for the smart buildings. So we are focusing on both, and happy to share knowledge and information on both areas.
So today we have the opportunity to have Taylor with us, and you are active and well connected in the London and in the UK startup market. So what do you see happening there in regard to what Claudia just said?
So I would say I'm based in London, but I kind of look across Europe, and I don't necessarily feel bound to London. But just picking up on what Claudia was talking about in this venture capital sector, we look for the trends and we look for the needs that are 10 years out. And in the real estate space, what all the real estate owners who kind of have to think 30 and 50 years out, the questions they're asking are how is work going to change? How is where people live going to change? And there are big forces shaping these things, right? So probably above all, automated electric vehicles is going to change the very landscape of real estate. And it's going to, and then digital generally is changing the very landscape of work. And I guess some of the things I see that are most immediately doing that are probably apps for your workplace and sensors in your workplace. And those two technical trends, really easy to do. We're already seeing big changes coming about. So what apps do is they put the user at the center. And if you look at all the big unicorns in the tech world today, Uber, Airbnb, WeWork, they all decided to change the old model and put the user at the center of their model. And they've been massively successful. And apps do that. So apps do that by allowing people to start to influence what's around them. So simple things like, change the temperature in the room they're in the building, right? And that has a direct impact on people's productivity. Ordering their food, booking their meeting rooms, registering guests without having to, go down and talk to someone at reception or go back to their computer and fill out a complex form. So much easier. Find out, all right, what's the travel alerts for me leaving my office today? Where can I get discounts nearby? Because I spend all my time in this one location. So apps for the workplace, quite powerful. People starting to control their environment. And then in the reverse, sensors in the workplace. is about the environment starting to respond to the people. And so very simple things like, how can I optimize the layout of this floor? So I as an architect, I as a designer, I as a facilities manager, I as a CEO who wants to make sure my team is working at maximum kind of enjoyment, efficiency. I need sensors in my building. They're the single most impactful thing that can go into a building today to understand how to better use the space. Temperature, light, motion and occupancy, super, super valuable. And that allows the people running a building to start to understand what's actually happening, and it allows them to start to change the space as the needs of the people change, as the needs of the company change. And so those are two, I guess, big trends in this startup scene that I think are pretty interesting as it relates to being smarter and more connected in the place that you work.
Great, thanks, Taylor. So actually, it's really funny because you were all talking, and now we have to get you a little bit involved. And Angela, so Taylor just shared what he's observing and seeing for trends, and you said that and shared with the audience that you know the Berlin startup market very well since 8 years. You're very well connected. What are the trends that you are seeing here?
So in Berlin, we are around for now 2 years, and in smart and connected and IoT sector, we have scouted in the last 12 months 98 startups, both in the B2C and B2B area, and clearly we see it's still very tricky in B2C. So what we are actually doing with startups is we are doing a first project together, which is quite short, around 8 weeks, and then we decide if we want to go into a seed investment or another collaboration. And as mentioned, we do, up until now, very few things with B2C, and the problem we see with smart solutions in the consumer area that we are still in an early stage, although the technology is around for years. The challenge is startups are still focusing too much on technology and caring too less for actual user value. And coming to the business model, almost every single startup is going for a data-driven business model, leveraging data. But to have rich data, you need not only the technology, you need massive user interaction, passively or actively. And this is a challenge, and very few startups are able to achieve and to trigger this massive user interaction. And so I'm very happy to have Fresh Energy today on the NOAH stage, because this is one of the few B2C startups we have at Innogy. And if you take a look at them, they really care intensively and do really huge efforts to create those added values who then trigger user to create rich data, and where we can build additional service layers and then grow massively, and also are able to leverage this data side of the business model. It's different, at least in Berlin, with B2B. It's much easier to create compelling user or business value in B2B area. We are also heavily active in the real estate sector with planning of buildings, with optimizing buildings, with buying and selling buildings, with managing buildings and spaces. And there, on one hand, it's a sector which is not digital today. So there's a lot to do, and this is an area perfectly for disruption. And on the other hand, it's much easier to create value, to have a good value proposition, and then start new businesses. And there we are currently alone in Berlin running 6 projects in parallel, which also results in new seed investments.
So Angela, you mentioned there are some challenges and hurdles, and it's about data, and I know that data and data security is very big, and Djeevan, you have that expertise and that background. Are there also any opportunities?
So there's what we see as a big opportunity is what we call data-driven personal data-driven services. So anything that's where your personal data is involved, that can be about your food interests, your travel interests, your energy profile, whatever. There's a legislation change coming. The legislation is already in place. It's called the General Data Protection Regulation. By May 2015, all organizations who deal with European consumer data need to be compliant. And that's going to be a massive change. It's already in place, but in May you need to be compliant. That's going to mean that consumers and citizens get the right to transport their own data from one company to another company. So if we have your smart meter data, you as a consumer can, by May next year, tell that smart meter data to go to somebody else and get you a better offer. Just translate that to any other business around personal data, and it's going to be a massive change. Where we see the benefits is that there's a whole number of startups in Europe, but also in the US, interesting enough, and in Israel specifically, that are zooming in on how can we provide you with a better insurance offer, with a better food recommendation, better health profile, whatever, by understanding who you are and what your habits are, but by keeping the data from you and not selling it on to an insurer, to a food provider, to an Amazon, to a Google. And that's a fascinating new area with lots of startups, lots of investment going into that. So where we are an energy company and we provide smart home services, what we as a big data lighthouse are really interested in is startups and investors that take this new legislation into account, provide more value to the consumer based on our own data, and at the same time provide a winning proposition for the big e-commerce players like the Zalandos and the Amazons. And we think that beside a threat, it is an opportunity. It's just the way how you deal with it.
Great. And Claudia, so how do you use that opportunity space for smart living and smart everything explorations?
Yeah, well, it's all about data in the future, what we heard, and the different countries have different restrictions, different needs, so it's quite hard to deal, of course. I think in the end it's always up to the question from consumer side, what's in for me? So if I can pay with my data and get some benefit, then it's okay. There needs, of course, to be some transparency about it, but if I also do not want to pay with my data, this should also be okay. So it's up to us to define solutions which are meeting each one single's need, and yeah, that's about it. But as I find it quite interesting because we have now the different views from Innovation Hub and other colleagues for different countries. So it's also a challenge, of course, for other countries to deal with that, or it depends on single countries how to handle this data stuff in the future.
And Tal, so as Claudia is mentioning, different countries, so you have a very good expertise in the Israeli ecosystem. So what is happening there? It's very, very entrepreneurial, very innovative. What do you see coming there?
So what we see in the Israeli market is that a lot of companies understand that the user-centric approach is very, very important. And many people are talking about the Internet of People rather than the Internet of Things. And the Internet of People is all about creating better interaction between devices and people. So the devices will actually respond to behavioral aspects of people. Okay, and just to give you some examples, what if my glucometer device could identify that I just finished my training in the gym and then send me a notification to measure my blood sugar? Or if I get home, go to sleep, I forgot to activate my alarm system, and then my alarm system activates itself because it could identify that I go to sleep. Another example, if I drank too much in the bar, I go into my car, okay, and then my car doesn't let me drive, some of these examples seems to be maybe far-fetched, but this is the future. Okay, and to improve the engagement with the customers, this is the direction that we need to go. Okay, so remember the Internet of People, and this is also the trend that we see from many companies in Israel. And our goal is to find the startups which are going to this direction, cooperate with them in order to build the next big solution for this Internet of People market. We're working with the startups from big data, smart and connected, analytics, to get this vision across.
And Claudia, can you maybe share with the audience how does that then exactly work? So Tal said we identify these startups, we find them. How do you then cooperate or operate with them?
So typically it starts with a 7-week phase or 7-8 week phase where we have a closer look to the solution, to the business model, to the consumer needs. So we do user insights, we have access to some user panels, and I think that's quite unique also at the Innovation Hub. We have, of course, the possibility to do some pilots and have a big customer base. So we have 23 million consumers out there we are serving with energy. So that's very core value. After the 7 week, we go, or well, it will be decided if we see some potential in a business with a startup or it's a solution. And then we go in the growth phase, which takes a defined time, 2 months, 3 months, depends on the topic. Then we can set up a real pilot, market product fit, whatever. So it really depends on the solution. And after that phase, we pitch for a go to incorporate, to do a spin-off or to go with an investment. So that's the possibilities, but the very important phase is the 7 weeks where we are very quick or try to go into the topic very quickly and see if the solution could fit and see if we gain some benefits out of it, if there is some possibility.
So you just mentioned, Claudia, that the 23 million customers that the company has is one of the big advantages. Djeevan, from your side, what do you see or consider as the USP from your big data perspective in this regard?
Well, first of all, the access to data. But through over the past 12 months, we built up so much expertise in this new legislation coming up that we're actually supporting new startups who are often not even aware of the impact of that if they are dealing with personal data. So we're helping them to deal with that and at the same time to start providing the services between different startups as they can build on each other's consumer audience. The other thing is the security side of it. So that's not the legislation, but the data security side. If you look at the smart home and personal data, then that's an interesting topic. If you make, again, implication from the legislation is if you make a mistake with this consumer data and it ends up on the street and gets misused, you run a 4% fine on your total annual group turnover. Meaning that if one department of you in a country like Poland, if you're Google and you have a marketing department in Poland and they make a mistake, the whole company can get a 4% risk, a fine. How to deal with that from a data security point of view is another service that we provide to the startups. So we're trying to facilitate the startups in making it easier to focus on their business value that they add by basically taking care of all the other big challenges on our side. The final one is that as we are in the home, like Claudia said, we have a place there. If you're a startup and you have a great idea for consumers, it often ends up as an app, another app. And I don't know about you, but many people have so many apps. So it's very difficult to get top of mind with consumers that they start using your service or keep using your service out of the 20, 30 different ones that are out there. How to integrate that from a user experience point of view is another thing that we can bring to the table. Not only us, but together with other partners in that space. So it's about integration, the data security, and the legislation part. And
Angela, how does that then really work? I mean, you are based here in Berlin at our office at the Space Check in Schöneberg, and then there are these startups coming, and how does that then concretely work?
Okay, so our main goal is to cater the needs, on one hand for energy, to validate if this is an interesting opportunity for us, and on the other hand, of course also for the startups, because we want to have the best ones. And so we need to have a compelling offer to them too. Our main areas are support in some specific areas where startup need help and support, for example, security issues and how to deal with new legislations in privacy, maybe also in the energy sector or others where we are quite well equipped and have good knowledge. On the other hand, matchmaking, so startups need to find a partner within Innogy and Innovation Hub which is 100% available, pushing their project, pushing their idea. And we do help, tremendous help or intensive help in validation, so proving the traction on the market, which of course is not only for the sake of the startup but also for us. That means we open doors to potential customers. We help startups to get in touch with relevant industries. Sometimes we are also helping startups to refine their idea or to see if they can have an even bigger market in additional industries. And as Innogies, it's much easier for them to get them on stage somewhere to have a conversation with C-level. Thirdly, of course, we are helping with the seed investment, because as Innogy Innovation Hub in Berlin, it's not we don't have the checks to hand over. We still need to pitch within Innovation Hub. And so we help the startups to be successful there, and of course help them in their ongoing journey afterwards to develop, to increase their valuation, to get follow-on investments.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, you got a lot of insights now and a lot of information. I'd like to open up now to the audience. If you have questions or you'd like to share your vision, what do you see coming up in the smart living area? That could now be the occasion to place it. I think there should be or maybe if you speak very loud. Micro. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
It's actually a question, sort of listening to you. I mean, obviously, you're diving deep into this area of data now. Yesterday, we had presentations where it was mentioned, among other things, BMW is looking to hire about 5,000 data scientists in the coming years. Simply because they understand that the whole business is transformed by this. So my question is really, has Innogy similar plans? In what ways are you looking to really embed these capabilities in your company? Because ultimately, I guess you have this customer base, you have potentially an amazing amount of data there, but are you there yet, or you have a plan how you will integrate it in your company?
So I guess that's mine. When I joined 2 years ago, they told me there were no data scientists in the company. They were fragmented. But by going out into the company, we found a lot of them already. Fragmented specialists in specific domains, and we tried to bring them together. It's extremely difficult to get enough high-quality people in. So if a company says we're going to take on 5,000 data scientists, that's a tough challenge, especially if the Googles buy up whole classes from universities. So yes, we're hiring them, but what we believe in is that we can actually better work with partners on the outside who can provide those services and enable them to bring those services quicker to our business cells. So the data lake that we run, it's basically an API-enabled platform that on the inside connects the data, and on the outside, any partner that says, listen, I've got this great offering, if you can get me the access to the wind turbine data, the gas boiler data from the consumers. And through that interaction, we're trying to do two things. First of all, cut down costs and become more efficient internally. And the other thing is, by working with such a partner, is that a service we can digitize and bring to other consumers and other businesses across the globe in a digital way. So instead of going into the war of talent and spend lots of money on good people, it's more about building an ecosystem with the best ones out there.
Yeah, and actually here we have Peter Therium, our CEO, who is really backing everything what we are doing. So great to have you here as well.
Thank you. Just to give an additional insight to that, we only want to have the best data science people. And if you hire 5,000, they can not only be the best. My belief is that the best data scientists, they don't come to just do data science. That's boring. The best talents want to have a challenge and want to work on solving challenges. So what we do, for instance, we now have in our digitization process, which runs a bit parallel to our innovation platform, we have set up digital garages. And those digital garages work in teams of 8 or 10 people with a mix of people. There are not only IT nerds or digital nerds in there or data scientists. We also have people from retail or marketing. We also have people with a psychological background. How does a customer look at an app? What makes him click or not click? We have designers in there, and they jointly work on a certain challenge, which comes either out of the business or which we have generated ourselves, because we say, this is something Innogy isn't doing, but this looks very interesting, shouldn't we work on that? And that's where we then hope or plan and are convinced to include then some data scientists who are willing to just, pick the challenge up. And then, of course, next to that, if we have bulk work, we do outsource it and we work with others. But that's a more differentiated approach that we pursue there.
I think here's a question.
Thank you all. As a product manager, I have a question related to one of the aspects you mostly all were talking about, meaning how to help customers understand the value of smart homes and smart living. And it would be great if you can share like 3 top techniques of how startups that you work with or projects that you leading help to support customers in customer journey, for example, or understanding the value of smart things, smart living. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe I can answer with 2 examples that are currently ongoing. So one is we did a design thinking workshop on smart buildings, which was about which focus areas could we go in, and what could we do, which benefit could we bring with all the data we gain. And what we did there, we did some interviews and did the whole complete design thinking sprint through. I knew that already from my former company, so I was very, very convinced. Even it's a service, it's not a physical product, so we mainly focus on digital topics, that it really worked out very well. And we did that with iterations, so first we interviewed, then we did some prototyping, some kind of lean testing, then we interviewed once again and improved, but of course we will continue on that. One example. Another example is a very nice thing. So we are currently working on a venture together with an Israeli company, which offers a smart building as a service solution. And we are currently testing that in our co-working place here in Berlin in the Space Shack. And that's really nice because my feeling is the co-working owners themselves are very open to do that. And you need such people to do some first pilots, to gain some first insights. And we also did some interviews with the owner, the co-working space owner. And it's improving. So it's really like a colleague, I would even say in the meantime. That's not that we are of course in the end they need to pay and they do that. It's not so much money, but let's see. And that's really nice, so to have really examples, and in the end it's always up to the people. So you have to understand people, and this is also something I realized. Some startups come and offer their solution. They just want to sell. So like this is a solution, they do not listen to you, they do not listen to the needs of the counterpart or the people they are talking to. And I truly believe it's important to understand first and let all those things explain and so on, and then you can come up with your solution. So that's essential.
I guess I would add to that.
Yeah.
So there's some great examples of specific projects that have gone through the Hubs program, but systemically, when the kind of the soldiers on the ground in innovation hubs, the venture developers, are asked to explore ideas, are asked to then present their ideas, are asked to go away and come back with answers, the validation process is built into everything they do and is expected when they discuss it internally, is expected when they present it internally. So culturally, it's the product approach is deeply steeped in what the Innovation Hubs does.
I would like to add something on that. In the Netherlands specifically, you see that front runners as buyers, they are easily reached and you can sell goods to them. I think reaching the masses, there we have a challenge. And we also do know that from research and also experience that people basically, they phase out if it becomes like techie and it's not for me, this kind of attitude. So we also try to be at the channels that they come normally also for other stuff. So we have a deal with Media Market where we have our own personnel advising on products that we sell. We are not only there online, we have also service partners visiting really people's homes to do maintenance on boilers and heaters. And at the same time, they give people advice on, have you thought of a smart thermostat or some safety measurements? So it's really sort of making it simple again and also be at the touch points where people normally would maybe not look for a solution. So I think that also helps sort of educating the market in smart home. Yeah.
And maybe Tal, to make the round complete, what do you see for specifics in the Israeli market?
Okay, so I think going back to the point, it's all about customers. Okay, and specifically to your question, we have to find the pain points of the customers and we have to offer them services that they need. Okay, and by understanding the customers better, developing solutions where we know exactly what customers are feeling now, what they are doing and what they need, and provide them the solution at the moment they need them. Okay, not to bother them with all kind of different notifications. In my point of view, this is the key to success. Okay, and this is how we want to build our product in Innovation Hub. This is why we are doing a lot of customer validations, working with customers, but that's the way to create a successful product.
Thank you so much.
I think we have time for one more question, if there is any, or if you have a vision. I mean, how do you imagine, also as a consumer or from your job background, how do you see the future of smart living?
No visions.
So up to you. What do you see coming, Bram?
Yeah, I think people, they want to have like comfort as a basis, and we do know when we talk to our consumers, specifically for smart home, but in general, the products that we sell, be it PV, so solar systems or these kind of things, they do not want to get the burden of doing all the research or understand how they should finance this. They want somebody to take care of you in these kind of circumstances of purchase decisions. They want to be taken by the hand, and I think the company in the Netherlands, Ascent, has a trustworthy brand value. So it's not that everything that we offer is taken for granted as being good, but at least it's a brand value that you can also really use to guide people and also to make sure that we have an offering that makes sense for them. What we do see as a vision is that as a full service provider, we will be basically also not only advising, but also inspiring them. So people can come to us for a solution to a problem they have, but we also want to inspire them in a more comfortable home. And I think that's the extra mile that we're going to take in the next few years. That is not only about selling comfort, but also inspiring towards a more comfortable life. And there we have different ways of doing this, by insights from smart meter data, by insights from our service partners that visit people at home, but also from basically following the online communities on social media. What's the talk of the day, and help desk communication. So all different kinds of channels we use to get insights and develop new products and services, basically for maybe a sentiment that's been living with our customers and non-customers, because of course we want to have also new customers and an offering from them as well. Yeah.
Thanks, Taylor. Your vision, smart living, smart everything. One sentence.
Faster, more exact, and without me asking for it.
Claudia?
Also, only one sentence. It will be a mindful home which cares for me whatever I want, but I still have the control if I do not want to like it.
I want the refrigerator that chases us and gives us a treat.
You can get it right now on paper. Angela, your vision.
My vision for IoT and smart is that we have such loads of good assets at Innogy. We have a very specific approach regarding privacy and data, how we see it and how we deal with it. And we take a close look on user value. So I'm pretty confident that we will make the breakthrough with some of our ventures in the near future.
Thank you. And you, Djeevan, what is your vision?
Can we please hope that we see all the big tech players putting AI into every device at home? Can we please prevent that we get a chat box at home of all the devices talking to each other in a different language, different voices, and please have some consumer simplicity instead of complexity.
Great. And yours, Tal?
I think it's already mentioned by my colleagues, so I would just say, again, let's put the customer in the center, let's provide personalized experiences, and let's do it together. Okay, we're looking for partners, looking for startups to work with, so let's do it all together.
Good. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. If you have questions, we are here around and happy to continue further talking to you. And have a good rest of the afternoon. Thank you very much.